Welcome to Job Tales, the podcast where you listen to professional stories and find the job that suits you. Dario is a preclinical toxicologist. To set the mood of today's interview, I'll quote Paracelsus, the father of toxicology. He said, "All things are poisons, for there is nothing without poisonous qualities. It is only the dose which makes a thing poison." Ladies and gentlemen, Dario Beltramo. Dario, thank you for taking a few minutes off your work duties to talk to me. And I'm sure it will be a very fruitful conversation that we have. I would like you to introduce yourself and to tell me what you do in life.
Thank you for the invitation, Laura, and it is really a pleasure being here and talking with you about my job and my experience. Actually, I'm a preclinical toxicologist. What does it mean, preclinical toxicologist? I'm the guy that is in charge of the evaluation of drug and medical device before the clinical phases and before the marketing of this stuff.
So you come into play way before the product is a product, actually.
Exactly. There is a pool of experts that is in charge of the evaluation, the safety evaluation, the efficacy evaluation of this drug or medical devices before entering into the official clinical phases and then the marketing. It is the first step for each compound or medical device before being a real drug or before being a real and useful medical device for patients.
So you're a toxicologist. That is your job today. Where do you work? I mean, we don't have to disclose the name of the company, but what is the application of such a function, of such a job profile?
Actually, I'm working in a worldwide company that is focused on the health of the skin, meaning that there are different pillars into the pipeline of this company, but all of them are focused on the skin, meaning that there are aesthetics also in the pipeline and also real drug for a lots of different disease that could affect the skin.
So you joined this company
Quite recently, yeah.
quite recently.
Yes. In usually big part of my experience was focused on anti-tumoral drugs and also drugs for endocrinological disease.
Okay, can you just explain what's endocrinology?
Yes, the endocrinological disease are quite a huge amount of disease that are affecting the right balance of hormones
Okay.
that could affect child that are already born with the disease and also disease acquired throughout the life, like for example problem to at the thyroid or even at senior. For example, then I mean the most famous senior imbalance of hormones are the menopause that affecting every woman.
So affecting men and women alike, and then women menopause.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
So you work with diseases. It means you've studied viruses, bacteria, and so forth. Can you tell me a bit more what you studied?
What I'm studying the safety of a compound. I'm not in charge to discover the compound that possibly is curing the disease because it is not in my task. The design of the compound, the synthesis of the compound, and the screening of the compound are before my field of interest. After having this screening and from which some good or possibly good candidates were screened, then they start the real development. What does it mean? Mean that after having this screen, the real development will imply the study of safety of this compound, the efficacy of this compound, and on how they be absorbed and distribute into the body in order to reach the site on where the disease is sit.
So this is what you're studying now for your company, right? So which is very,
Correct.
very interesting. And so it's a continuous study for you. It's a constant research and analysis. So, but going back to your years of study, when you actually did university, what did you study then?
Well, I was completely not focused on toxicology at that time. My background it is molecular biologist.
Okay.
Then I got a PhD in pharmacy, and both these faculties, I got lesson in pharmacology, and toxicology is part of pharmacology.
Okay.
From there, I started to have interest in toxicology and broadly in pharmacology. And then I decided, well, maybe is worth to be explored a little bit more in depth, and maybe I can also build up my career on this field.
So you clearly had an interest in science, medical science, and biology. Did you know that from the beginning? Let's say you were 15, 16 years old and you said, that's what I want to do in life.
Good question. I would say no. At that time, I had the two main choices. The first is chemistry. I mean, was and I mean, and my first love is still chemistry, and the second is biology.
Mm.
Then, by chance, at the time when I had to choose between the faculties, between chemistry and biology, I don't know really what's happened, and then I decided to follow the biology pathway.
Okay. So, like, just life happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was a sort of sliding door,
As
if you
like
remember the movie.
the movie, yes, yeah, totally. It's always it's a sequence of sliding doors. Our life, right?
Exactly, exactly. And it
Yeah.
is super funny because, I mean, maybe if I have chosen chemistry, we never met and
Yes.
maybe never had this interview.
This conversation. Oh, maybe we
Yeah,
would because you would be at home. So you would be living somewhere else, but we would have met somehow. You know, you never know.
exactly, exactly.
I know, but it's very
Life is
interesting.
strange.
Life is strange and yeah, beautiful, and for that, right?
Yes, exactly.
And high school, because you studied in Italy, right? Also, you're
Right. I
okay.
mean,
So
I got almost all, I mean, the degrees I got then in Italy. Then I moved at the University of Surrey, at which at that time they have quite important master in applied toxicology. I mean, it is also worth to be mentioned that nowadays toxicology, you can also figure it out as a real university class and course. At my
mm,
age and my time was not in this way. Toxicology, you got some lesson at the university, and then the bigger part was learn on job. And there are also some university that were offering some spare course, but nothing of structured as you can find today.
okay, that's interesting. So we're looking here 25 years ago, more or less, right? 20 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
thank you to make me younger.
Yes, it makes me younger too. So, I find it fascinating, and it's definitely not my field of studies and not my field of work, but I can see the relevance today and in the future, probably, looking at COVID and what happened, and probably one has nothing to do with the other, but maybe it does have a bit to do with the other. How relevant do you think that toxicology is in today's world and for today's jobs as well and in the future?
I mean, I can say, let me give you a picture of what does it mean toxicology, and then maybe we can explore a little bit more in depth. So
Yes.
toxicology is nowadays it is everywhere. You can have two big distinction. The first is clinical toxicology and non-clinical toxicology.
Mm.
With clinical toxicologists means it is a real medical doctor that has studied toxicology, and he or she is in charge to cure people that got some intoxication. Intoxication, I mean abuse of drugs, abuse of alcohol, or even intoxication during some accident at work or at home. Then the second part it is non-clinical toxicologists. For non-clinical toxicologists, it is another word in the word, meaning that there are a lots of different categories in this field, and that are the non-clinical toxicologist specialized on drugs and medical device, as me. Other people are specialized in environmental toxicology, meaning that they are studying what happened when whatever chemical is was put into the environment. What is the biodegradability of this compound? What is its impact on the flora and on the fauna?
Mm.
Then there are other toxicologists that are focused on the radiation, and they are specialized on how to deal with any device or apparatus that is producing ionizing or not rays, on how to deal with nuclear scores. I mean, there are a
Mm.
lots of different field for toxicologists. Other toxicologists are focused, for example, on only on a chemical compound. What does it mean? They are studying the impact of that compound on the human health.
Okay.
Means that for every production of compound, new compound, there is a list of different studies or tests that has to be carried out in order to understand the intrinsic toxicity of this compound, and what does it mean, or what are the precautions that need to be taken when you handle this compound, when you transport this compound, and when you store and also dispose this compound.
I see. So when you say chemical, is it opposed to organic? When you say chemical versus organic, meaning like non-natural. Let me put it this way. I mean, I'm a layman, and yeah, I have no background whatsoever.
Let's say there is also organic that are part of chemical. If you talking about organic waste like a soil, no, there
Okay.
is no not a real toxicologist that is taking care of it, simply because every chemical compound that we are normally using, and then it is or wash off or disposed into the soil, this family of compounds have already been studied before the commercialization.
And is it always related to a product that is, let's say, manufactured or produced by humans, or does it also have, like in your case, when you're dealing with the products of your company, they're all man-made products and they're all chemically produced, right?
Not yet, because toxicology born when the chemistry was still not yet born,
Okay.
meaning that the real toxicology, the father of the toxicology has been Paracelsus, that he lived in 1450, more or less, at the middle of the 15th centuries. And at that time, there was only, let's say, within bracket, natural compound. But
Mm.
this natural compound was used for the aim of poisoning,
Ah, okay, I see.
meaning that exactly that's toxicology born from there.
Mm.
And also, allow me also to make aware all the audience that you have, that natural compound does not mean safe.
Okay, that's a very good point.
A lots of compound that are really present everywhere, also in our home, are really poisonous. A lots of plant that are in our house, flower, more or less all of them are poisonous, and some of them are really nasty poison.
Nasty. Okay, I hear the white oleander is, or oleander in general.
All the part of the oleander is poisonous, and because they have a compound that is called oleandrina,
Mm.
that is the real and effective toxic compound.
So that's quite fascinating because I mean, your job sounds exciting, but also very useful and important. How do you see it progressing over time and in the future? What kind of like new jobs, for example, could you see opening up in the future?
The progression in these last years was enormous, mainly due to the fact that I mean, a lots of toxicological tests were and are still carried out on animal. Also
Mm,
because every country requests by law that a battery of study must be performed on living animals.
mm,
But in comparison to years ago, now with the introduction of in vitro testing, and moreover with the introduction of the in silico with the AI,
mm.
I mean, we got a really a huge acceleration on the screening and the first part of testing for every compound.
So you make me think about all the products that say there's no animal testing. Is it true, or if it's a law and in the countries to have some sort of animal testing, how do these companies that say there no animal testing, how do they get by or get around it?
Well, so let's say what is said non-animal testing usually means that are formulation made with compound that are already all well known. In this case, since
Ah,
the dossier with for this compound is already well known, you can claim not animal testing.
I see. Okay.
But if you are developing new compound like a new drug or a new medical device, I don't know,
Mm.
like a new hip prosthesis, new dental prosthesis, new stent for a heart artery, in this case, you must
You
test.
must you test it. So they
Exactly.
actually do test stents on animals.
Yes, because I mean, the particular alloy of this stent
Yeah.
that usually this alloy has a quite high degree in cobaltum and chromium
Yes.
require some tests.
I see.
These tests are mainly focused for functionality rather than toxicology, but since the study must be carried out, the two endpoint, toxicology and functionality, usually are put together.
Mm.
And then with the one single study, you will get information regarding the efficacy, functionality of the medical device, plus the toxic portrait of of this medical device. Sorry.
If I look at your job today and your path, what other fields would you love or would you have loved to enter with your work?
With my work, I mean, for example, yeah, I'm really passionate about toxicology, and maybe you have already got this. The other field
Yes.
in I mean, close to toxicology that I really like to work is also pharmacology. That,
Mm,
let's say, pharmacology, it is one step before toxicologist. What does it mean? Usually every one of us take pills or drugs, and we are using the drugs in their specific range of pharmacological effect, and
mm,
this is what we are looking for. But for whatever is the reason, mistake or voluntary overdose the drug, you will enter into the toxicological part of the pharmacology of the drug, meaning that in that specific part of the pharmacology, the drug does not only produce pharmacological effect, but it has also some toxic effect due to the fact that it's overdosed.
I see. Okay, that's also, yeah, very intriguing. Let's just quickly, before we end, because unfortunately there's not much time left, let's talk about, the good and the bad. And say, what do you love about your job? I mean, I know there's a lot that you love, but also what do you not love? What do you find difficult for you, or annoying, or boring, or frustrating?
Okay, good question. I mean, it is, as you well said, it is not always flower. There is also the bad part of my job, and the writing of the report for me is the bad part of this job,
Hmm.
because when you are studying, when you are looking at or looking for the mode of action, or you are trying to understand the mode of action of some compound, or why this compound is bringing these particular features. I mean, it is super exciting because I'm searching, I'm studying, I'm comparing. But when I got a solution and then I have to write down in all these results in a report, well, that is for me the worst part of my job.
Okay, yes. So the writing part is less interesting. You're more like
Oh
an
yeah, I
action
mean,
guy.
exactly. For me, it is really boring. Also because you have not anymore the stimulus of the research. Okay, you have
Yeah,
not
I
not
see.
moved by the curiosity, because at my age I'm still curious, like a
Mm.
monkey, really.
Despite your age. I'm kidding. To finish, to conclude, looking back at your life and your career, what would you have done differently than today?
Oh, well, good question. Let's say, as I said before, my career was by step, because at that time there was no any university course for this. Nowadays there are also
Yeah.
faculties that are focused really on toxicology. But for the advice that I would like to give to the people that is interested is that they really love not only toxicology, because the toxicology is, let's say, the point of this arrow, but the base of the arrow are pharmacology, anatomy, and physiology. Because
Mm.
if you don't know how a body work, how a cell works, you cannot try to understand why that specific compound has these particular features. you
Mm.
you you need really to understand if your field of interest is embracing also anatomy, pharmacology, and physiology. If you like all of them and you are curious, maybe toxicology could be your field.
And what do you need to be prepared to do? Or prepare, what compromise in life do you need to be prepared to do?
The compromise is that it is, as I said, you have interesting part of your job, that is scouting, that is thinking on how that specific compound brought this toxic pattern. And then there is also the part of reporting, because in any case, the research that you are doing independently, if you are in a company or in academia, but in any case, the outcome of your research has to be written, because in any case there is also the need to transmit this knowledge. And for me, this part is really boring, meaning that it is a sort of balance between exciting during the research and a lots of less exciting for the writing. But it is also true that nowadays, with, as I briefly mentioned before, with a lots of new tools, like artificial intelligence, the possibility of having a lots of ideas regarding on how the compound brought that toxic pattern can be explored by computer science.
So next time we will talk about AI and the influence of AI on your toxicology field.
Oh, there is matter for I think for a lesson.
And I look forward to that lesson. Join me next week for another job tale here on my show. Ciao for now.